Hello, my name is Travis Parsons. I'm with the Labor's Health and Safety Fund of North America, and today I'm going to talk about motorcycles and bicycles and their unique challenges for traffic design specialists, foremen, supervisors out there. One of the most important things when it comes down to designing a work site for supervisors and foremen is to need to do this is a plan for motorcycles and bicycles. They must plan for everybody that's going to come in and out of that work site, whether it's related to their work site or not. You got to plan for public safety also. The benefits of this are many. The primary thing is preventing work zone problems concerning motorcycles and bicycles, and it also increases safety for everybody on the work site. Why is this so important? So motorcycle use has increased dramatically throughout the recent years. We've seen an 86% increase from 1997 to 2000, and it's probably still going up from there. A lot of crash data out there indicates that motorcycles actually are attributed for 10% of all fatal work crashes on roads. And then bicycles are only accounted for 1%, but also note that 90% of bicycle crashes are not reported by the public. So that's another important factor. And from this point forward, we're going to talk about them together, not as separate items. Improved practices will help reduce crashes, reduce insurance claims, and improve relations among agencies, contractors, and cyclists. Okay, well now we're going to focus on 4 different types of hazards. There's a lot of different hazards out there, but we're going to focus down on the 4 different types. And the types of hazards are problems with pavement issues, abrupt elevation changes, degradations in the pavement friction, degradations in pavement surface quality, and then degradations in roadway geometrics. And on this slide, there's an example of each. If I just click down through, here's an example going over some steel plates for motorcycles. As you can imagine, they might not even see them coming up, and then all of a sudden, they're having a change that might affect them. And then here's some, on a turn. You got to really consider that as a foreman when you're designing a work site. And then the quality of the surface, have you created grooves that will be a problem for cyclists out there? And then also geometrics, All right, let's just talk about them one at a time now. Why is pavement surface quality an issue? Well, mainly because cyclists out there are lighter and only have 2 wheels. So they have, cars have 4 wheels on the ground, so there's a lot more room for error. When you're on a motorcycle or bicycle, there's no room for error, and any sudden change can lead to many, many problems really quickly. And some examples of these situations are longitudinal grooves created from milling machines, as we know out there on the work site. Other situations are unpaved or gravel surfaces out there. We know in our cars, if we run into unpaved or gravel surfaces, how hard it is to steer and stop. Just imagine being on a motorcycle or bicycle. Also, rough terrain or broken sections of the pavement from the work site. And then longitudinal or lateral rumble strips are also a problem, which actually is a safety measure that is put in there for the cars to slow cars down, but could be a problem for motorcycles and bicyclists, especially if they are operating on the side of the road and not in the main roadway. What about pavement friction? This is very important when it comes to motorcycles and bicycles. Again, we're talking about loose gravel and sand and soil, and then liquids on the pavement. If we have wet surfaces, we know how much harder it is for cars to stop when it's wet out there and we have skids. Like I said, we only have 2 wheels when we have cyclists out there, so it's much more of a problem. Another problem you might not think about is blackout tape within a travel path. As a worker out there or a designer on the road, you probably use blackout tape all the time, but you've got to consider that a motorcycle might come through there or a bicyclist. And then also large pavement markings. With the design of the interstate, this might not be factored in. These can also be very slippery for a cyclist out there. And then again, steel plates. A lot of times I've talked to some motorcyclists and bicycles out there, and they don't even see these steel plates until they're on top of them, and then it's too late. What about elevation changes? This is a big one. Uneven lanes. Anytime you can change the lanes, you can have some uneven surfaces that may not affect cars but will highly affect cyclists. Loose or rough bridge pavement joints. We've all went across bridges where we can feel those changes. Those are very dangerous for motorcyclists out there, especially if they're going high speeds. Again, steel plates seems to be popping up on each one of these. This is a very important thing to consider whenever you're working on the roads. And another one that people might not consider, again, is manholes or drainage pipes out there. they probably usually just slap them down and move on, but you need to make sure they're level and what the surface of the road, because a motorcyclist might not even see this as it approaches. What about road geometrics? This is one that you might not consider as a designer or a foreman as much, but it's very important when it comes to motorcyclists and bicyclists. You're realigning the whole structure of the travel lane, and when you shift that lane over, have you accommodated for motorcycles and bicycles? You might even have taken away the bike lanes that were created for safety of bicyclists. So you got to consider both of these whenever you're doing this type of work. Let's talk about ways we can improve our transportation management plan when it comes to motorcycles and bicyclists. They have very special hazards whenever we're talking about them, so we need to really think about them when it comes to the planning of the work site. And we have a guidance document that has 8 different topics to consider that are listed here. The recommendations in this guidance documents are here. Reduce the height of vertical pavement edges, and there's examples of each if you click over here to the left, and there's examples throughout. Avoid use of speeds of less than 10 miles per hour below the existing roadway speed design. This one's heavily debated, but as we know with motorists, also motorcycles and bicyclists, you don't want to reduce speed all of a sudden abruptly, which can lead to car accidents. So we can go into the click of that one. And the third is use of cycle-related static warning signs. I've actually seen these myself recently more often. Maybe it's just because on my radar now, but a lot of times we focus on cars and construction vehicles, but we forget about motorcycles and bicycles out there. But there is a lot of signs out there that can be used to focus on this and give them fair warning of upcoming problems or steel plates or degradations. The fourth is use of portable changeable message signs, very similar to the last one. This gives them forewarning about problems that are upcoming. And then also you can mitigate or delineate edge transitions and other elevated obstructions on the road. And here's an example of that in our program. You can also minimize pavement markings in the wheel paths or the traveling lanes where there will be motorcycles. This is one that probably isn't considered as much, but is very dangerous when it comes to the slippery surface for a motorcycle. There's some examples here. And then also increased pavement condition monitoring. This is important. So your traffic supervisors out there and your foremen should always be looking for these hazards when it comes to the road surface. Look for wet spots on the road, loose gravel and sand, elevated manholes, drainage structures, different things, mud. All these things need to be constantly monitored throughout the site. And that's it for motorcycles and bicycles. Thank you.